Alright, I just finished the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, written in 2017, sold for a price of $30, but they have this 30% off too. Lots of pictures. This is the style of book that has two sets of pictures. Pictures here, not just all in the center, and they're colorized too. It's got like a different approach. You have individuals the whole time. Individuals giving their statements. The only way there's a transition from one story to the next is in italics, like this. The italics could just be a few sentences, and in between you also have quotes that run from the show as well to serve as a reference. They define media, okay? They did a pretty good job. I was turning to the Daily Show for a while as my primary news source in the early 2000s, because Jon Stewart really covered a lot. And he talks in this book, he's like the primary guy, he's the primary source of information for this book. Okay, Jon Stewart, for example, just talking about the different phases that they went through and over the period of time. Okay, so they went through a lot of changes comedically. They're talking about how their style changed over the years. That it was redefined by events. Steve Carell started changed how interviews were done with people. All right, before it was like maybe fart jokes, and then Steve Carell figured out how to turn it into more of a political thing. They were chasing the politicians, but how they were using like fart jokes with the politicians for a long time, and then Steve Carell had like a defining moment where he was asking fart jokes, and then with John McCain, and then all of a sudden it was, what's the deal with the economy and your tax proposal for it, and then that left John McCain stunned. And you could probably I found it on that YouTube's the John McCain Carell interview, and it was interesting. They get specific. Using specifics with comedy is helpful. It helps the people relate. The 9/11 they covered. It was hard to joke about the 9/11. The studio. These are notes that I took. The studio is isolated, so they were like in their own little bubble. John made an effort to recruit new correspondents frequently. And that it was looking too white, so he put more effort into white and male. He's put more effort into getting other races. Snapstream I found interesting. Okay, these are things that I find interesting, actually, that I took the notes. There's other things people might find more interesting. Snapstream was a way for them to to log all the videos that they were pulling in from all the other news stations. So instead of having to watch hours of video clip to get the quote, the video would turn into a written dialogue, and so they would just type in the search a certain phrase, and that should come up for the time that it was said. And Snapstream covered that. I thought that was interesting. Stephen Colbert said fear is a reaction to feelings. Thought that was interesting. Oh yeah, I wanted to look that up. During the Rally to Restore Sanity campaign that Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert conducted. There was a Muslim lady running around with a camera, and she made a video, jump rope with a Muslim. I never really looked that up yet. What to offer at show? Now, I don't know why I said that. 284. See, this is a fast read because there were a lot of spaces in between for each person when they were going to say something. They put a nice space in there. But also, it wasn't enthralling. It's an easy read. Oh, Jon Stewart was talking about how to entertain people because they had to keep people coming back every day. If not funny, make it interesting. If it's not interesting, at least make it somewhat smart. If it's not smart, then at least make it weird. And that's coming from Jon Stewart on his approach. So you learn tidbits on how to conduct a good, entertaining show, which, you know, for YouTube, a YouTuber could use this information. A YouTuber would definitely get something out of this that they could put for their YouTube channel. Wiener Panada, create a character. See, I found it interesting on how they dealt with Wiener, Anthony Weiner, because they made him out to be a worse guy than he may have been, and they were characterized. They were making a different character of him that they could beat on, a Wiener Pinata. Okay, so they made all their jokes about Wiener. You know, how many guys in Congress that are in government at such a high position have these type of public problems. You know, Wiener showing his wiener. So they had fun with that. They had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, ambition helps you stomach a lot. If you got a lot of ambition, Jon Stewart said that. He was talking. Oh, I think he might have been talking about Wiener. Maybe not. I really don't. It's something I'd say it's interesting to read, especially when you can get it for free from the little free from somebody's little free library in somebody's yard. Yeah, there's so much going on with this. The first responders who showed up at the 9/11 World Trade Towers, they were dying of sicknesses, so Jon Stewart put a strong effort into making a political movement towards getting them the health care that they needed, the funding for it and all that. That was one of his things. They actually do mention Donald Trump in here towards the end and stuff. They're making comments about his popularity in the 2016 race. This was published in 2017, so yeah, there is some reference to the Donald Trump. And yeah, it'd be interesting if Jon Stewart was still around to see how they would react. I don't like how John Oliver, who's quoted extensively in here, and Stephen Colbert, who's also quoted extensively in here, I don't like how they've changed as characters in their constant bashing of Trump. But they say a lot of interesting things in here. Just a lot of the famous people were all mentioned in some way. Every correspondence. Well, actually, Olivia Munn, she was a correspondent. She never said anything on this book. But the majority of them had something to say.